Good morning and welcome to Mornings with a Stranger, episode 95. What am I here for today? I am here with my second cup of tea, which is much weaker than my first. My first was like perfect. I wish those days that I made perfect tea that I could go back and see exactly how much I put in my little thing. But then I have like a bazillion sizes of cups too, I think. But it would give me some solid ratios. That would be helpful. I love a perfect cup of tea, as you well know. My thought for the day, actually this is a thought for this day, but one that I've been having for a couple years now, at least. Well, I don't know, maybe a couple years is too long. How long it was that Trump started running. But I think of the fact that, and I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, and I don't know if that matters or not, but just thinking about the whole concept that Ross Perot, I don't know why I keep thinking back to Ross Perot. Well, I know exactly why I keep thinking back to Ross Perot. I keep thinking back to Ross Perot when he ran in 92 because so many people didn't want a businessman running the country. And that was an issue. I can't say that I know his policies or all of what he stood for, and the little bit of reading I've done from it, he maybe came with some issues, but none of them that I read were like, oh, well, that would be why we wouldn't want him in there compared to the businessman we have in now. So it's interesting that our standards have changed. And so that's the thing that I find really fascinating. Like, is it truly because he was third party that he was crapped on? Which, I'm sorry, but I think that's dumb. Let's talk about what the person is doing. And I understand that when you are trying to get somebody in, you don't want your third party to take away your votes. To me, that tells me we need a different system, not to keep dividing our country into two, especially the divisions that we have now. And so it sucks when people can't vote for who they won't believe in or what they want. That's jacked up. I mean, you can't tell me in any situation where you have to vote for not your favorite because the person you think might be best might take away votes and then give it to another party. That just tells me our system is jacked. And that's just the way it is. It doesn't fly. This is who represents our country. If we were doing this in a business situation, we would say this doesn't work for hiring practices. This doesn't work for decision making. Let's change the system. I'm not saying it's easy to change the system, but I'm saying whatever. Life isn't easy. To do things well isn't always easy. So let's figure out a new way, people. Whoever does that. I don't know how to do that. I'm happy to jump on whatever bandwagon. And I know there are people on that bandwagon, but I think it's a really realistic bandwagon. We've got this huge divide and it's totally messed up and it's not working for us. When we're voting against someone and not voting for, we're not doing the right thing. That, to me, I'm sorry, that just seems freaking common sense. Yeah, that's like playground crap. That's elementary school crap. Like how you vote in the third grade president and, you vote against somebody. So let's stop that crap. I mean, we need a reform to do it, but let's be realistic. This isn't working. Okay, so back to the thought that I'm trying to have here. But that's an important one. Okay, I feel it's an important one. And I feel that it's important not because it's coming out of my head or my brain, but because our country's messed up. And everybody, I think, kind of is on the bandwagon of agreeing with that. Minus the person who is happy he has the title he's been working for, perhaps. I don't know. I'd love to take him, Trump, into a dark room, and not by myself, and ask him those questions. Like, truth serum him. What does he really think is happening right now? Okay, so back to Perot. My question with Perot is this. So the reasons we gave, as I recall, and again, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to do a ton of research on this or didn't do a ton of research on this. But just reading down some of the, like, one of the things somebody said that he was criticized for is he would make people who volunteered find loyalty statements or something. I don't know if that's true. That's what was said in something that I read about Perot. I think our current president does kind of similar things, as I recall. And the point that I'm trying to make is what made Perot so much worse than Trump? Perot has, I believe, my understanding, is a much more successful business record. I don't think he ever declared bankruptcy. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think that that's true. And I think it's fascinating And I'd love to know the reality. And I didn't find it in the research that I did because it's put alleged in front of it. But I do remember this being a thing, that Perot dropped out because they were going to publish doctored pictures of his daughter before her wedding. And I think there's a bunch of stuff that happened with that. So let's assume that's true for a minute. Fascinating that he was concerned about what damage doctored pictures of his daughter would do. I think somewhere there was description that they were, I don't know if they were in lingerie. I feel like that's one of the things that I read recently, that they were lingerie or whatever, boudoir pictures. We have non-doctored pictures of our current president's wife all over the place. So my question is this: what has changed and what is the difference? And that's the documentary I want to see. I want to see it not done by a right wing or left wing, like somebody who just is looking at the information. So maybe somebody from outside our country. But what's the difference? Where were we at in 1992? Where were we at in 2016? And why is Trump okay? What caused us to go, yeah, he's awesome, versus looking at Perot, and he certainly had supporters, right? I mean, I remember going to see him speak, and I was, very young and not really into politics, but I listened to people, and I certainly don't know the whole story of everything, but I remembered he had some decent things to say, and, he spoke well and thoughtfully, and he had some ideas that seemed like they might be worth exploring. And at the time, there were many of us who were, again, not hugely into politics, but it made sense to me at the time. We were looking for something a little different, perhaps not as much of the country as was now. But the fact of the matter that I find interesting is the fact that we got so far to the point of saying we're so desperate for difference that we're going to jump this funky ship and we're going to choose a reality star who, not a successful business guy, really. I mean, if we looked at him like we looked at somebody down the street from us, we would say he's not a successful business person. That many declared bankruptcies, that many gaming the system to get what you need. People that I know who look at what successful business people are, that would not be what they would say. But somehow Donald Trump has this charisma that people, and he's on TV, I guess, so that makes it all okay. Somebody that in many circles mocked. I mean, we watched the show. I remember watching the show. I mean, he had his following. He had a huge following. I saw Donald Trump years ago, and many of the people were there, not in irony. They thought he was great and fantastic, and I listened to him and didn't, I don't know. I appreciated what he had to say in certain ways. In other ways, he concerned me. He didn't really win my heart, but I know a lot of other people there absolutely loved him. And of course, many people who didn't really take him seriously. So it feels like we got desperate, and then we made this move that has been a very interesting move. And what if we had jumped the ship back in 1992 to take this businessman, if we had been able to see that through? And I'm a little confused in my memory as to if I believe he was out of the race and then couldn't get back into the race, but he still got a ton of votes. If we could have seen that election through, where would we be now? Like, who knows? These are all unanswered questions. But it's an interesting thing. Would he have been a little less crazy, a little more moderate, a little more working with people around him? Then maybe we could have, done that years ago. And I don't know if he would have been running on the Republican or Democrat form. Would it have helped or would it have hurt? There's alleged aspects of reasons of why he quit that were his issues, reasons that the Republicans and Democrats were demolishing him because, of course, he's third party. It's just messed up. Our whole system is messed up. I don't know. It just makes me sad. I know that we probably have never had a true and honest election, but it just feels like it gets ickier and dirtier. And then the fascinating thing is the things that they did to him to ruin his election were things now that people are totally okay with. And I don't think we've gotten, because, he's third party and he has a daughter who had potential boudoir pictures. And granted, they didn't come out, but he had a legit, sadly, he had a legit reason to be afraid of that. And he was protecting his daughter. This is all true. Let's assume this is all true. I think he was protecting his daughter. It's just screwed up that we were that freaky about that 20-some years ago, 25 years ago, or whatever it was. And then Trump comes and we're like, oh, prostitute, naked lady, rock on. And again, let's go back to, 8 years before that, when Michelle Obama couldn't wear a reasonable dress and show her arms. So obviously, I get it. This is not totally about our culture and where people are at, or maybe it is about our culture and where some people are at, and those people get the higher voices at the time. They get the more out there voices. So there's that. All people exist in all cultures, and who's speaking the loudest and who is let come forth. But it'd be nice if media would have just looked at the complaints that Michelle got and went, you guys are dumbasses. Whatever. We're not even going to give you the time of day. And 100% made a joke out of it. Now, again, 8 years later, we haven't gone through that much of a sexual revolution to be like, yeah, naked lady for our president's wife. Isn't that amazing? She's so whatever. No, we know that. But the fact that the media can't just react appropriately and go, isn't this interesting that we're doing this now, instead of be okay with it or whatever. And I know some people were kind of questioning that, but I don't think enough. I would have been thrilled to hear some conservatives really complain. Even if that was to say, hey, she's her own person. This is before. But no, I'm not okay with it. This isn't really cool. And boy, doesn't it suck that, we just bashed Michelle. Just have at least, I don't know, some self-honesty about it or something. Anyway, I want to see the documentary that compares Perot and now and just really looks at our culture and looks at why and what's changed and what's behind it. And I know that there's a really simple answer. It's called reality TV. But I want to dig deeper than that. And I want to, think it would be great if we had to look at that a little bit more, even if the answer was a polite, are we just American dumbasses that have fallen into reality TV, and then take that further. I agree that that's a total possible response. But let's examine that. I just think it would be fun to watch. I'd love to see more information about Perot. I'd love to understand why more. I'd like it to be more than just, we like Donald because he's a Republican and we don't like Perot because he's third party and he might take our votes. Ooh, poor us. We're not examining what these elections mean. We're not examining what people want. And there was the sort of examining, well, people want change. They want different. They want to throw things up in the air a little bit. Okay, but not to the detriment of where we're at. And that was not foreseeable. So anyway, all right. Would have been nice if it was wrong. I would be so happy if Trump would have just turned into this amazing president. That would be so cool. Anyway, all right. That's it for today. Another long one. I'm sorry. Have a wonderful day. Have a great rest of your morning. May your second cup of coffee or tea be stronger than mine. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook at Mornings with a Stranger. That's @ Mornings with a Stranger, no spaces. And go ahead, come on over, like the page, go for it. It'd be awesome. Visit the website for all the rest of the podcasts at morningswithastranger.com, and the Amazon. If you're an Amazon customer and you don't want to spend any money supporting the podcast, but you want to support the podcast, boom, you can go ahead and do it that way. Go to the website, click on supporting, where it talks about supporting the podcast and the cool things we talked about. Click on a link. You don't have to buy whatever it is that you click on. Whatever else you do buy, though, little tiny portion of that, not a cost to you, comes to us as a support for the podcast. Greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go ahead, do it now. You know there's stuff at Amazon you want to buy. Come on. Anyway, I love Amazon. I don't always love the amount of packaging they do provide, but they can be very handy, especially when I can't find the stuff in the store that I want. I get forced to use Amazon sometimes. I'd be happy to go pick it up at my local store, but when it ain't there and it's something that I really need or a brand that I really know I like, speaking of brand loyalty. All right, talk to you later. Oh yeah, so here's exciting news. I am putting up these podcasts out on YouTube with some graphic content and maybe some videos someday. Who knows what will happen. So I'm doing this because some people have said that they don't necessarily listen to podcasts, but they're more of YouTubers. And so that's kind of the way they are looking for content, even if it's not a video. So that's the whole purpose of that. I guess this little experiment of mine has taken its own little course of action. And just to be clear, there is going to be both the podcasts and the videos. It's purely just an extra thing to put out there. So however you like getting your content, you can choose whichever way you're going to do that. And hopefully it would be nice if I could put them out and have them coincide. That's the goal, but that might not happen the way one desires. And because, of course, this hasn't been going on the whole time I've been doing the podcast piece, there might be some catch-up videos that get put out. So if you see numbers that aren't exactly in order, that's what that's all about. It's a little bit of catch-up. If you want to look at it on YouTube, you can simply go to YouTube and search for Mornings with a Stranger, or go to the website and click the YouTube channel on the menu bar. I'd love some feedback. Absolutely welcome some feedback on the videos and which way that you prefer to watch your podcasts or listen to your podcasts. And we'll see how this evolves over time on YouTube. So whichever way you enjoy.